What's up? Just asking the team for a quick mic check. If I go into my market views. Okay, cool. My man CL says he can hear me. So starting off with Bitcoin the King, which is always the thing that we want to look at. We had a solid start to the year. So we started January at like the 86, 87K range. And then we had this massive rally up to 94 where there was some resistance. And then we've been kind of consolidating lower ever since. My market view on Bitcoin is basically for us to revisit up to like 95 and then come back down again. And that's because I think we have some potentially bullish kind of catalysts. I am overall looking for opportunities to short. CPI data came in very helpful and in line with consensus. Tomorrow you've got the Supreme Court, potential Supreme Court ruling on tariffs, which there's no real like consensus growing if that's going to be bullish or bearish in my group, and so uncertainty is never a good thing. Obviously the bullish thesis is that you remove some of these tariffs and remove some inflationary pressure that it creates and unwind some of the kind of geopolitical tension. The downside is if it involves tariff refunds and things to companies, and obviously all the revenues that were created, then maybe it has an impact on the stock market as well. So that's Bitcoin. I think ETH, similarly, you're looking at a trajectory where ETH can go up to like maybe even 3,300-ish and come back down again. As you can tell, I have a like pretty bearish view on crypto for the start of this year. The reason for that is because whenever we go up, it tends to be technical in nature. Shorts getting squeezed and perps chasing it. But whenever we go down, it's always fundamental in nature. And that leads me to believe that gravity is kind of to the downside. You see it with things like Hype as well, right? Where you have insane catalysts from HIP3 right through to portfolio margining and everything like that. And Hype just can't sustain a new bid because there's no new money coming into the asset. Whereas something like IP is ripping today, but it's all like a short squeeze and an upbit listing and whatever. So generally speaking, my market view is when we go up, it's technical in nature, usually about offside positioning and whatnot. And when we go down, it's typically fundamental. Like people want to sell this asset class and do something else. There is an asset I do like that I've been monitoring, which is Polygon, POL, the old Matic, if anyone kind of knows that. It's had this tremendous rally off the bottom at the start of the year, essentially somewhat doubled from down here right through to up here. And that's because there's a whole bunch of catalysts coming up, which I'll leave you to do your own kind of research on. But if I was to take a bull view on an asset, especially as a pair trade or a basket trade, this would be one of them. I think XMR has largely played out and some of the pair gang managed to catch the XMR Zcash trade, so I'm not that interested in playing that. And then what I thought was going to happen is we were going to have a rotation into some of these like crypto AI names like Tau and Virtual, but they've been trading really heavily under resistance right now. So I'm only interested in going long those if there is a sustained breakout, which means Tau above 300, Virtuals above like 1.2 kind of region for those longs. The main reason why I wanted to hop on today though was to show you some new features on Pair and how that affects what I am looking to trade. So let me share my screen.
Artlist.io.
And there's the behind scenes of what's going on here. So as you know, when you are on Pair, you're coming here and you're looking at a chart like pump sol, right? So the narrative here is clearly you want to be long pump and short sol. The first thing I want to do is check agent pair because you never want to be 50-50 on these assets. And so agent pair is suggesting I do something like 38-61 kind of for my long short, which makes total sense. So the new features which we've added, firstly, we've added something called trigger-based order. And so a trigger-based order could be on the weighted ratio. This is your typical like limit order, if you will. So if we go below, say 0.048, it's at 0.04818 now, then save a trigger and get me into this pump sol trade. And just to make that clearer, I'm going to close this existing hype sol and go to open orders and place this trade. So I want to go long this if it goes to 0.042, which it looks like it might do. Always do this, man. Always forget to add my screen. So just going back a second, right? So one of the themes that people are talking about right now is something like being long pump sol. And I'm looking at agent pair in the first instance when I arrive here. And I'm looking at the suggested weighting. So agent pair is saying be 38% long, 62% short. So I'm going to apply those levels to my trade. And that's the weighted ratio thereof. And then I could just go ahead and enter that trade like normal. So I'm going to do that. And as you can see, I'm long pump sol with that entry price, that weighted entry price of 0.04816 was my level. Something we've added recently is a new feature called trigger-based orders. So for the same pump sol, I can look at this weighted ratio and I can say, hey, a bit like a limit order, I only want to be in this if it goes to 0.047. And it will save that order. I have to input my size, obviously, place the order, and it will be here. So go long pump sol if the weighted ratio is below 0.047. And this gets particularly interesting when you can combine it with something like Bitcoin dominance or even an asset price. So only get me in this trade if, let's say, Bitcoin, its current price is 92,400. So if Bitcoin is above 92,500, market looks bullish. I want to be long pump relative to sol, and I can save that trigger there. And then don't forget, you have to click and place the order. So once you've set your order, and so go long pump sol if Bitcoin is greater than 92,500. And clearly the possibilities here that are therefore really, really great, because let's say I want to take a view on an asset that I was talking about that has been weak, like hype, but I want to be outright long hype at a certain point. Let's say once it clears like 26, I want to start getting long hype again, not down here because it could do nothing for a long period of time. And let's say I also want to take a view that hype is going to outperform things like lit. And you don't have to be short, by the way, you can just do outright longs. But let's say I want to be long hype versus this short basket if, and this is where I go back to my trigger-based orders, if hype itself is above 26. So take the current price and above 26, and it will save that trigger order down once I've inputted my size. I always forget to do that to actually place the order itself. And so you'll see now I am going to be long hype, short lit and Aster if and only if hype is above 26, and we'll constantly be monitoring those trades. You can of course always just go straight long into this trade like before and get into a hype lit Aster trade and start monitoring that and be in that position. The other new feature that we did is we added trailing stop losses. So users who are a little bit more experienced when it comes to trading know all about setting take profit, say 5% away, and a stop loss, say 2% away, or a take profit, say 10% away, and a stop loss 2% away. That's the vanilla way of setting a take profit stop loss, and most people have been utilizing that. We do that obviously based on the mark price of the basket, so you're not managing individual legs and things like that. The trailing stop loss, what it enables you to do is actually set a trail distance. So let's say this stop loss at 5%, I want it to keep ratcheting up as 5% below a certain kind of threshold. So I'm going to keep it at 5, and I only want this to trigger if, let's say, the market is up 2%. If the market goes up 2%, this trade goes up 2%, then have a trailing stop loss and move my stop loss up accordingly, always 5% relative to the current mark price. And so you'll see some more definitions here, but this is really useful for locking in profit. And so when you are entering these longer term kind of basket trades and things, what you don't want to do is set the trade and have your stop loss, let's say here. What you want is when the price is going further up, like up to here, then you want your stop loss to move up accordingly as well. And so that's the real kind of power of trailing stop losses. You can obviously do that on individual legs as well. So if I wanted to be long Bitcoin, I could do a trigger based order like before, make it conditional on something like Bitcoin dominance. And if Bitcoin dominance goes above 58%, set the size, and I'm in those conditional trigger orders based on Bitcoin dominance. And once I'm in them, I can do the same take profit stop loss with a trailing stop loss. So really, really powerful feature for risk management of positions. And if you have an existing position, let's say you have an existing position and you've been using dollar profits and dollar losses, you can ratchet those levels up. So let's say 100 and a $50 loss, and then trail this stop loss. It's going to be 3 and say 3% like that. So you can apply it to your existing trades as well, which is really, really powerful. The final thing which you may have realized is before, your take profit and stop loss was only ever in dollar terms or percentage terms. Now you can have it on the weighted ratio level itself. So going back to Hype versus Lit and Aster 4.43, I can now just set my weighted ratio. Let's say when it gets to 4.6 up here, I want to be out. And so I don't have to start calculating any percentages or dollar amounts or anything like that anymore. And here I'm just going to have no stop loss. You don't need to have a stop loss. I just click that off there. So yeah, we can set this on the weighted ratio and the same on the stop loss. Let's just do it for a second. Maybe 4.2. Now that seems trivial. That seems like what you should have been able to do the whole time, but it's actually an engineering feat. Because just think, we have to store the weighted ratio for everybody's trades, and everybody will weight their trade slightly differently. Like this is 50, 25.4, 24.7, etc. So a really kind of powerful feature to have. Coming back to my own market views then, getting off trigger-based orders for a second, things that I have an eye on as potential longs are going to be things like POL. That has shown some kind of strength of late, although I'm not in a rush to get into that trade whatsoever. I would then pair it with things which are on my perennial kind of shortlist and somewhat correlated, like Eigen, ARB, Sui, etc. And obviously this gives me some protection in the case of a downside because I have these short legs. One other thing which we added maybe a week or two ago was the ability to look at basket statistics. So you can see the correlation between Pol and this short basket. You can see where the Z-score is. So currently, obviously, a little bit of deviation, but nothing too extreme. You can see the vol of the basket, and most importantly, a weighting for the basket itself. So I want to be 36% long and 63.8% short, like so. And again, I can enter these trades. I can do market orders, or like before, I could ladder or TWAP. So let's set a conservative TWAP on this. Don't have much margin on this account, but maybe over the next 12 hours, you could do something like that. Might have to need a bigger size to get it done, but you get the point. And these TWAPs are a lot more responsive now. So I can TWAP into a basket trade, see the statistics, and then once I'm in that trade, like before, I can set a take profit or stop loss on the weighted ratio itself. So this level here, this level here, and then I can also have a trailing stop loss. You just toggle it on, set your trail distance, and then the activation threshold. Last thing I'll say, because it can be very confusing what a trailing stop loss is, so I'll just do it one more time. Generally speaking, most traders will have this off. The people that want to have it on, and let's do it in the context of the trade I just put on, is I'm going to set a vanilla kind of take profit, and I can mix and match these. So this is going to be, let's say in dollar terms, I want a $500 profit on this thing. And my stop loss is going to be in percentage terms, so 5% down. Now, here, it's almost more intuitive to look at the activation threshold. So I don't want to have a stop loss which starts ratcheting higher and higher and higher without the price moving in my favor. So let's say I want the price to move at least 10% before the stop loss starts going up. And then that stop loss, which was at 5%, I'll keep it at 5 from the highest unrealized profit level. And again, there's information on each of these here. This is a real kind of professional tool for risk management. And when it pertains to baskets in particular, it's another reason why you'd want to use pair versus managing these trades individually. So I've got my trade, I'm TWAPing into it. I see what the weighted average level is. I can obviously toggle and see what's been contributing to this trade over time, which has been largely all the short legs that I've been doing that. I can then even adjust these trades mid-leg, so I can add to my POL position if I want to. I can reduce my shorts. I could even remove a short completely. I can adjust them like so.
Music licensing reimagined.
Come back to my vanilla weighted ratio chart and manage this position, like I said, with the take profit or stop loss, or even partial or full closes of the entire position if I didn't want to adjust just the individual legs. So really powerful tools that are available now, things that I will be using myself, especially these trigger-based orders. And if you wanted to copy me on this trade, which is long Paul, short Eigen, Arb, and Sui, the way I would do that is either send a market order or have a trigger-based order where you want to get long this if, let's say, the market is strong and Bitcoin goes above 92,500, then I want to be in that kind of trade. And don't forget, like I often do, to actually set the size and then place the order. And once you see them, all these trigger orders will show here, and you can cancel them at any time as well. This includes all your stop losses and things. So they're the really powerful things that have happened on Pair. If you are trading, remember you will get your points distributed this week. I believe they are due out on Wednesday. I trade fairly actively on the platform, but I'm like number 52, so there's scope for you to go way higher. And these points, there's no hiding what they translate to. So they translate to hype. We last time did a very favorable conversion to the number of hype, which is publicly available. And I encourage anyone to have a look at some of the hints that CL has dropped about what the conversion may be for the next season, which is currently running at the moment. The other thing as well is if you have a referral code, don't forget, and here, full transparency, how much I've earned on this stuff. Don't forget to create your own invite code, copy it and share it with others, and you'll get 10% of everyone's fees that use it, as well as them getting a 10% discount on their fees too. So just some things to bear in mind. But yeah, for now, the market view is look to short bounces and enter into basket trades selectively with the use of TWAP market orders and then those new trigger-based orders as well. Okay, cool. Bye.
Artlist.io.